Hello everyone, I'm making this video for, this is in response on the Polyglot thread. There was a thread made about, I can't remember the guy's name. He basically, he basically asked a question about polyglots and how they, if, polyglots, if they've learned language on their own or whatnot, or if they've taken classes, and is it possible? Well, I just got done reading or I read Richard's post, and he pretty much hit it on he pretty much hit it on the nose. Pretty much polyglots. I guess I can start off by talking about myself. Um, I can't stop thinking about languages. I think about languages every day, throughout the day, throughout the week. Even I have of course I have a life. I spend time with my wife and whatnot. We go fishing and watch movies and whatnot, but there's always a time when I bring up something about foreign languages. I always talk about foreign languages, and I guess sometimes I drive my wife crazy when I talk about foreign languages. But that's something I can't help. I really love foreign languages, and the see Chinese. Well, or say before Chinese. In high school, I took French. But I think as an American, everyone has to take a required language: French, German, Spanish, or whatnot. Um, when I took French, I got all A's in French, but I didn't really know how to speak the language. Okay, and I think that's typical with a lot of people who've taken a foreign language in high school. So yeah, that was the story for me taking the French in high school. Now, excuse me. Chinese was the first language I really started taking seriously. I started learning Chinese. I was 18 after I graduated. I wanted to try some new things, and I studied Chinese. One got the books, some phrase books, whatnot, and I walked around. Me and my best friend, we walked around and we would practice Chinese every day. This was every day, not a couple days a week, a couple hours a week. This was every day, all day. Okay, and there were even times when I think at University of Akron, I've taken I think was it 2 semesters? Yeah, there were 2 semesters. I enrolled for 2 semesters, and at that time I wasn't doing well at all in school. I failed some classes. I dropped out a lot of classes. I got in trouble with financial aid, and the reason for that happening was because I was stuck on studying those languages. I could not stop. I couldn't leave the languages alone, and everything else was pretty much everything was irrelevant. If it wasn't, if it wasn't about foreign language, I didn't have any interest in it. So you know, that got me in trouble then. So I would walk around on campus, look for Chinese people to practice Chinese with. I did it for 3 months. Even when I was at home, I was going to the chat rooms and practice reading out of the Chinese books, practicing exercise and whatnot, and just being really, really into the language. And 3 months, did it for 3 months, and um, I was able to conversate, with Chinese native speakers. So I was getting fluent in the language. So I'll say I was on like a low intermediate, low intermediate level in 3 months, and that was just from studying every day, all day. Okay. Um, I didn't have the best pronunciation. My tonations weren't perfect, but hey, I was in. They could understand everything I was saying, and I was happy for that. I was happy to be able to communicate with native speakers in a language. Okay, so that's the story with Chinese. And then after that, I realized that I had a thing for languages, so I started learning Japanese, Arabic, Korean, and Thai, and some other languages. And I was pretty much doing the same thing. And like I said, I would go home and it would just be languages. I had books everywhere, and it's just that's what I consider a polyglot. A polyglot is a person who's really cool, who's crazy about languages. They eat, drink, breathe every day the language. Okay, I've met some people who've studied a couple languages pretty well, maybe 2 languages, but I don't know if you can really consider them polyglots. A polyglot is a person who just just I don't know. Just I guess I would have to call him a maniac, just a psycho of a language. Psycho, just a psycho for the language they're studying. Okay, and I think it's a I think it's a good passion to have for foreign languages. So um, what else? Let's see. Yeah, and what else he meant? He mentioned about knowing the language and everything in the language. Now, I don't believe I've been seeing people talk about mastering a language. Now, I don't think it's possible. You know, I think when you talk about mastering something, a language, you're basically saying that you know everything in a language. So anything that's brought up about that language, you should be able to answer. Okay, and I don't believe that no one just as Richard said, I've never met anyone who knew everything in the language. I've yet to meet that person. I would love to, but I think that's really that's something serious to say about mastering a language. That's an outrageous claim, I would say, an outrageous claim to say you've mastered a foreign language. Okay, now you can master aspects of a language. Of course, you can master aspects like an alphabet. You master an alphabet, some grammatical points. You can master them like different aspects. But the whole language itself, that's a different story. Okay, as native speakers, there are native speakers that we haven't even mastered English. There are Chinese people that haven't mastered Chinese. I had this same conversation with some Chinese people, and I asked the guy. He told me that he mastered Chinese, and I was like, wow, you mastered Chinese. And I asked him, there were some questions I asked him about some different Chinese texts and whatnot, and I showed him this text I had. And he had no clue what it was. He couldn't. He had no idea. So that right there, that's indicative that despite being a native speaker, it doesn't mean that you've mastered a language. You're just not going to master it. It takes that's an outrageous claim. But yeah, polyglot. As far as time is concerned, I don't really think about the time. When I start learning a language, I learn it, I study it, try to get as fluent as I can in it. I don't really think about the time. And sometimes when I study, it's it could be for like the whole day. I found myself studying like I think the other day, what was it? I think I studied Estonia in the morning, and then I ended up studying Turkish for the whole day. I don't think I went to bed until like 2 a.m. or something like that. So I studied Turkish for the whole day. Okay, so there's really no time. It varies. Okay, and as mentioned before, it depends on what the person wants. Some people they may criticize you, say, "Oh, you're not speaking. You don't know how to talk about this subject, this that subject." I mean, it all depends on what the person wants. I mean, most of the language I study, I'm on like intermediate, higher intermediate, low advanced level, and I'm content with that. I'm content with those levels because I don't really have any intentions on going to the country. So I'm just afraid I'll learn some things I won't use, and I don't think it's necessary to learn those at this point. But yeah, time. Yeah, it doesn't. There's really no time. I don't really think about the time. So, what other? Let's see what else. What else was there? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Oh, I've taken a few classes at OSU. I took Swahili, Zulu, Persian, Hebrew, but I had to put extra work outside the class in order to be able to converse with a native speaker. And I found, not to toot my horn, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I found myself in all those language classes I took, I was probably the most conversant, most fluent person in the class. Because, I mean, of course, because I put more time outside the class. Um, when I start learning language, I take it seriously and I try to get as fluent as I can in it. So when I took those courses, people were wondering how I was learning so fast. I was just putting a lot of time into it on my own. So yeah, pretty much polyglots learn foreign language on their own. That's pretty much what they do. But yeah, it takes a lot of time and dedication. And yeah, it's possible. My time